Let's see. Um, is the connection okay? Oh, there we are. Okay. It's finally working. Alright. That's good enough. Alright. I wasn't gonna stream. However, I'm gonna use it as a way to try to stay awake. Because I've been sleeping too much. Because I think have so I'm not sure how interesting the stream is gonna be. But maybe it'll keep me awake. Because I've been essentially laying in bed for, I don't know, about 36 hours. And I saw on the news they said that peak respiratory virus for this winter has passed. So that's good. I know. My little nephew was very sick for a while recently, and I got sick when he did. The difference being he got over his illness and I did not. I feel like this is just my feel. My case. I feel like cerebral palsy lowers immunity. I don't know if it actually does, but I know in my case, I certainly feel that way. I always find it interesting that YouTube lags behind so much. It says the average view duration is 4 minutes and 48 seconds, or now 5 minutes and 7 seconds. But given enough time, that number will be erased, and that'll be a truer reflection of the current state of the stream. It's always interesting. There's interesting. You can change the color here. What do we want? How about that? People's speech pattern. I speak in a rather sophisticated way. Doesn't match my spelling though. But it is interesting how people's speech patterns vary so much. It probably has to do with life experience generally and educational training, but probably more so just day-to-day experience. So let's say day-to-day experience and preference is probably more critical than education. I don't know if that's the field. Linguistics. I believe it probably is. They said that there's a language in developing in the southern states of America. That's pretty interesting. So that would be separate from that would be separate from just dialect changes. They're always finding new stuff that they didn't know before, which I think is the coolest part of knowledge anyway. It's discovery. They would always give so much credit to as you would say, Egypt. I thought I was gonna spell that right. Okay. They always give so much credit to Egypt for their pyramid building and their engineering feat, as if it's almost non-reproducible. However, what they just found was a whole massive, basically complex of an ancient city in the Amazon rainforest, I believe. So we definitely are so active in what we highlight. If you just look at history, for example, history has to be the most broadly studied field, and essentially all of the soft sciences. But we try to distill it down. We say that this important event happened here at this time, and then we jump forward to this next important event. But really, every place and every time has significant things that happen. So, for us to try to decide what we deem as important and not important is kind of crazy to me. I'll just sum it up and say history is wild, and say our approach is misleading. If you take, for example, I live in New York, and I was brought up in New York, so I went through grade school in New York, and we would take Regents exams, and we would take Global History 1, Global History 2, and then be tested on that at the end of the second year. And whoever has the job of deciding what goes in and out of that curriculum has a very hard job. How do you take essentially all of the quote all of the let's make it more readable. All of the important world events and present that to little kids, or at least teenagers. I feel like in having a class that you essentially would label as global studies, it gives the false impression, as I said, that only certain times in certain places are important. I would argue that every time in every place is important, almost equally. At least to the societies involved. Try to tell one society that their history is not important, and you'll start a war. YouTube still hasn't fixed itself. That's okay. Wars. Cultural disrespect. That's a big driver for war. It's really unfortunate that the United States has put itself in a position where it could elect someone as president. Someone who says that if a NATO country doesn't pay their fair share in funds, then that president, being Donald Trump, would actively encourage Russia to do bad things to that country. There's a reason that he was voted as the worst president by historians. And I don't even believe his story where he says the NATO members asked him directly, what would happen if we just didn't pay? I don't buy that story at all. Maybe there was some version of that. There was no question asked like that. People want to take complexity and make it simple for dumb people to understand. But that's incomplete. And incompleteness in international affairs or international relations leads to war. This is interesting. I don't give Joe Rogan any credit, pretty much ever. Very rarely. Rarely give credit. But I saw a clip yesterday. She was discussing the nature of scientific communication with a PhD scientist. And Joe Rogan was making the claim that science is just mostly above people's heads. And for whatever reason, the scientist wholly disagreed with what he said. He went on this whole explanation of complexity versus complication, and he made the case that anyone could understand and follow his research because it's all linear thinking, and if you just follow the steps, you can reproduce an outcome. However, that misses the point. The point of what Joe Rogan was saying is that science has a really high barrier Science has a really high barrier to entry. This scientist was trying to compare a high-level accounting to science and say that accounting is just as complicating as science. I'm sorry, there's no world in which accounting is comparable to science. Science is much harder than accounting, where people have just made up rules and they say, okay, follow these rules and we'll run our tax system based off these rules. Accounting is not. Let's write this out for posterity. Accounting is not hard. There's a reason that they think accounting will largely be taken over by artificial intelligence systems. You just follow a set of rules which tell you how to run your tax system and, in a sense, have a functioning government, which is a whole nother topic. Government responsibility, which would be political theory. "27 minutes. That's nice. It's working a little bit. You just don't feel as tired. So that helps a little bit. I have my trusty cranberry juice. It says, no artificial flavors or preservative. Ocean spray. I wonder how that chemical fire battery plant in France is working out. So much environmental devastation. That is so bad. You're gonna have huge quantities of burning lithium. That's not good. I really cannot get over these stomach pains. Like, really annoying. And they kind of change my behavior, which is a real sign of a problem. Anyone who says that when you face health issues, be positive, I would really question if that person's ever been sick for a long time and how severe that sickness was. So let's write that out. Illness duration and severity. There's still room up here. This is a nice image right here. The coloring worked out well. You never know how it's gonna go till you start. No plan. See, this is streaming is better than writing. Writing requires too much of a plan. You can't be as free as you are with streaming. I think if I were to write a book, it would come out as very rigid and uninteresting. I think the best way to write a book would almost be take the ideas presented in stream. I think that's the best approach. Although, it is interesting. I had a roommate in college who became an author, or at least wrote 2 books. And I guarantee you, I've had more YouTube viewership than he's had. Not even books sold, but probably number of pages read by all the people who have bought his books. That is most likely a fair statement. When I was in college my sophomore year, they decided in their own way that it was a good idea to have disabled people be in the same place, essentially living in their own suite. So there were 3 rooms in this suite, 2 people per room, and we all had I guess what you would call classification most had ADD slash ADHD. Some had autism, and myself, I was lone CP, cerebral palsy. You should not stick a bunch of disabled people together and think that's going to form a community. Because each disability has its own problems, and the personalities are not going to mesh, and you're just going to make a bad situation worse than it already has to be. So, I think I made my thoughts clear on that issue years back. But probably nothing has changed. They're probably still operating in the same way. It's pretty interesting to me. If you really think about what college is, right? So you have heavy workload. You have all this opportunity. But really, when it comes down to it, it's just you and another person in a room, and all you have are essentially 2 TVs, 2 fridges, 2 desks, 2 computers, 2 beds, 2 lights. That's it. And if you don't like the person you're living with, then your life, I'll write it this way. College life really does have the potential to absolutely be bad if you're in the wrong position. And I'm gonna write this too. It's very easy. It's very easy to be in the wrong position. See, this is very colorful. This is a very colorful image right here. Nice overlap. I think, you know, what are they called? The lighting fixtures that change colors every 7 seconds and run on a loop or some otherwise randomized approach. I think those are cool. I think lighting has a huge impact on mood. It most definitely does. If you have bad lighting, you're gonna set yourself up to be in a bad mood. Oh man. My stomach issues are quite problematic. I think the stream might end soon. We'll see. Anyway, if you have cool lighting, it's probably going to put you in a creative mood. And you might be less susceptible to depression and things like that. Okay, I'm going to end the stream because my stomach hurts pretty bad. But hopefully you got some enjoyment from the stream. And as always, hopefully it was fun and somewhat interesting. that's always the goal. If I could avoid pain, that'd be good too. But I think that's gonna be the end. Have a good day.